Five. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ms. Falzoni. I'm a Pathways teacher at the York Catholic District School Board. I would like to welcome everyone today for our next installment of our career series of online interviews with our YCDSB alumni. Today, we are proud to have Justice Mendes with us, who is a graduate from Father Michael McGivney Catholic High School. She is currently works as a judge in the Greater Sudbury area. Welcome, Justice Mendes.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here today.
We are very excited to have you and look forward to hearing your pathways and hopefully to provide our YCDSB students with some insights on how you were able to reach your current position, again, about your pathway. So the way this will work is we will be answering our students' series of questions where some students have provided their names and others have chosen to remain anonymous. So with that said, I'd like to get started with our first question. So our first question comes from Victoria. What was your pathway after high school? What steps did you take to become a lawyer? Great question, Victoria.
So I completed high school and then I completed my undergraduate degree at Wilfrid Laurier University. It was a 4-year honors business degree, but even though I went into business, I knew that I wanted to eventually apply to law school. So after completing my undergraduate degree, I applied to a number of law schools and was accepted to the University of Windsor, where I started law school. Actually, very notably, my first day of law school was September 11th, 2001. Wow. So a very memorable day for me, especially moving forward in this career path. So I had 3 years of law school at the University of Windsor. And after that, I had a year of articles, which that process has now changed. But at the time, it was 10 months of practical work where you follow various lawyers around in a law firm that you were hired on with, as well as writing 8 bar admissions course exams, which were about 4 to 6 hours in length each. They've now changed that process, the articling process, because a lot of students were not able to find articling positions. And so some universities have changed where you can incorporate sort of a co-op program with your articles, and then you don't have to do the 10 months of shadowing, as well as the exams are now reduced to 2 full-day exams. But I think they're talking about changing it again. So, and then after that, I commenced my law practice in Sault Ste. Marie, where my husband is from. I moved up north of the city, and I worked as a lawyer for 14 years. And so 14 years, when you are 10 years out of being a lawyer, you can start applying to be a judge. And so I waited till I was at the 13, 14-year mark.
Wow, sounds like a lot of hard work and dedication. We'll go on to our next question. So why did you decide to become a judge and not stay as a lawyer? So I know that you worked as a lawyer for, you said, 13 years.
Yes. And so becoming a judge and being a part of the administration of process is was very important to me. I found that being a lawyer and advocating for a position is very difficult to do, but being on the other side of things and being in part of thinking of a global solution or a solution to help out a family or a resolution that would really sort of move families, that was my area of practice, family law, move families towards a resolution was very important. And I thought, you know what, using some great skills that you sometimes don't see on the bench, such as mediation and collaboration would be suitable. And so I really thought, you know what, thinking outside of the box and bringing that skill set to being a judge is what made me want to be a part of that administration of justice and bring that different skill set to the bench.
It's interesting that you mention your skill sets, because that's something that as pathways teachers, as careers teachers, we are trying to reinforce with our students, that they too have certain skill sets that they can bring forward. So, which is a great lead into our next question. What would you say are 3 important skill sets or qualities that students interested in a career in law should work on developing and strengthening? You know, maybe they need to work on it. What would you suggest?
So we often think that somebody who likes to argue a lot would make a perfect lawyer. They're great debaters. They could really advocate for a position. That is true. That is a good skill. However, for me, I think one of the biggest skill sets to bring is that of listening, really listening, because you're making decisions that affect people's lives, and you really need to hear what people are saying. In fact, it's a lot harder being a judge because at least as a lawyer, you could leave your position there and a judge would have to make that hard decision. But having that good listening skill set and creativity to come up with solutions and resolutions to help families and to help individuals through the family law system and the criminal justice system. I think that's also very important. And I think you also have to be a voracious reader. I think there's a lot of reading that's involved, and I'm constantly reading, rereading, preparing. So that's also something that if you don't like reading, don't be forewarned. There's a lot of reading.
There's a lot of it sounds like a lot of mediation, like you said, trying to navigate between two sides. And as we know, it's never black or white, and trying to understand that is a difficult job. So I know that the journey to becoming a judge is very difficult academically. Were there times that you felt like giving it up? If so, what motivated you to keep going? And this comes from Serena.
So as a lawyer, there are a lot of ebbs and flows. You win some great cases and you're very excited. You lose some cases that you should have won. You lose cases that, you could have done better with. So there's a lot of struggle, and these are very important cases to people. So there are times that are challenging, but I think for me, it's my faith that keeps me through, and really understanding that my role and this career path that I've been led down has been guided by God and by my faith in knowing that what I'm doing, I've been put here to do a job, and I'm going to do that job to the best of my abilities and giving it my all each time. So really going back to your faith and your fundamental teachings that we've all learned growing up through our elementary school days and our high school days, that really comes back full circle in your career path.
I love that. I love that faith is so important to you, and especially in our Catholic school board, I think that's so important. Our next question is, are there any females on the bench as a judge, and why is this representation so important to you, or so important in general?
So I will say that there are a lot of females on the bench right now. I think it's changed over the course of the years. The Judicial Appointments Committee, who makes recommendations about who should become a judge after you've applied, is well aware of the fact that Canada is a very diverse and multicultural society, and they want to make sure that the representation on the bench is comprised of the makeup of what Canada looks like. And that means having females on the bench. That means having people of ethnic descent like myself on the bench. And it was very empowering for me as a woman when I was appointed. We had a new judges training, and there were about 15 of us there. And out of the 15 of us, 9 were females. And I looked around and I thought, wow, this is really great. Look at how far we've come, because that wasn't always the case a number of years ago. So it's really, it's being reflected on the bench of what we see our country and our province is made up of.
I love that message, because I really feel that our female students really need to hear that message, that they can truly get to anywhere that they want to seek out, or any profession for that matter. Which leads us to our question from St. Teresa's Women in Leadership. Do you have any notable mentors that made a difference in your life? And how did your undergrad experience contribute to your ultimate career path?
So in terms of mentors, I have a number of mentors. I've had mentors in high school. I've had mentors in my undergraduate degree. I've had mentors in my family. I had mentors as a lawyer, and I now have mentors as a judge. And I think it's really important, because that congeniality and always having somebody to bounce ideas off of and reach out to with those highs and lows and those times when you're really wanting to give up and don't feel like you're doing a great job. those mentors are really important. And I think that always seeking out mentors is important for anyone. We're never in this alone. There's always somebody who'd be willing to help. And sometimes people feel like they can't reach out to somebody because they may be too busy or they may not know them. Just send an email. Send an email. And what's the worst that that person can say? No. And very rarely, I've actually never had somebody say no to me when I've reached out for assistance or for mentoring. So keep that in mind and never be afraid to ask. In terms of my undergraduate experience contributing to my ultimate career path, for me, my undergraduate degree was in business administration. And so I thought that I was going to be a lawyer who was going to be a corporate lawyer, and I would have, I'd be working in a big firm and, you know, on Bay Street in Toronto. But when you actually got into the practice and saw what it was like, I preferred to be a lawyer who worked with people day in, day out in family law, in child protection law. I was a children's lawyer as well. So my undergraduate degree really kind of set the stage of where I was going to go. But when I got there, it turned out that's not what I wanted. And it was okay to change my mind and to figure out what it is that I liked. And I think because I made that change, I really got to where I am today, because working with those vulnerable individuals and people who don't necessarily have all the same opportunities as many of us may have, really kind of opened my eyes and led me on a different path.
Yes, I think that's a very important message in terms of it's okay to plan, but it's also okay to change your mind along the way and reflect on what's best for you in that time.
Yes.
So our next question comes from Avery. How was your high school experience at Father Michael McGivney, and how did it help you? How did your faith help you through high school and beyond in your current role as judge? And I know you've already touched upon this, but maybe we can speak to this a little bit more specifically.
So with my high school experience at Father Michael McGivney, I started high school there the first year that the school opened. So that's how long ago that was. And and I was very fortunate to have some wonderful teachers who, through band, through religion, through guidance, that really helped mold my career path and sort of instill upon me the importance of giving back to our community and giving back to the Lord. It really is important that you always keep those fundamentals with you as you move through different stages of your education and career. One of the things that I have a difficult time with when you get to being on the bench is that I can't volunteer in the community in the same way that I used to, being on different boards and being on different committees, because you have to take a step back from that in this role. And that's one of the sacrifices that I had to make. I had to decide, was volunteering in that capacity more important than making a change and making a difference in other people's lives? And I chose this path. But what I learned when I got here is that I can still give back in a lot of different ways. There's still volunteering opportunities. There's still opportunities like this to share my experience as to how I got here with other students so that they have the same opportunities and can ask those questions. So, you know, the volunteer experience, the band experience, working on drama projects, all those extracurricular activities that you really can participate in during your high school years, take advantage, because that sort of importance and sense of giving back and contributing to your school and your community will carry through. And those are some of the things that they look at when you apply to be a judge. Right. Did you give back to your community? Did you give of yourself? So I think take those high school experiences and really make the most of them and continue those on in your life.
I love hearing that you had great people to support you in high school, because I know that's something that we really try and pride ourselves with and promote in York Catholic, that there are people there that want to help you. Just reach out, you know, take an opportunity if you see it, you know. So I love hearing that, and that how your faith has led you to where you are. So our next question comes from Joseph. What does your role as a judge look like today while we are in quarantine? How do you do things differently? We were talking about this just before our broadcast, so it's a great
Yes.
question, Joseph.
So I actually can preside like this right now during quarantine because we don't have to go into the courthouse right now in the courtroom so that we can maintain safe social distancing. So presiding with earbuds on, never thought I'd be doing that. Um, Presiding from my laptop, and working from a station where I'm taking notes and typing notes at the same time. I never thought we would be doing that. I'm probably on the more technical savvy side of the bench because I'm a little bit younger than some of my colleagues. But I find that these Zoom meetings, virtual courtrooms of how we're going to be presiding and how do we make sure that everybody has access to them safely and ensuring that there's no power imbalances or that's happening in terms of what's happening in that courtroom that you can't visually see as a judge and watch what's going on. It's very different from a year ago or 4 months ago from now. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this technology that we have and are adapting to moving forward will look like in the courtroom as we proceed out of the quarantine.
Well, we can say that we appreciate you being in a gown and taking the time. So our next question is from Nia. Do you have a family of your own, and how do you balance work and family life? As I can imagine, being a judge takes long hours and dedication. Absolutely, Nia.
So yes, as a lawyer and as a judge, I have 3 little boys who are 7, 6, and 5, and so they are quite needy. But I have always made the conscious choice to say family time is family time. That means for me, between 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock in the evenings, that's my focus on the children and our family. And we do homework together and we cook dinner together. And that's when we do activities. And that also means because with the age groups that the boys have to make some sacrifices too, and they do activities that they can all be in at the same time so that we can accommodate everybody and everybody gets the same experience. But what that also means is that after they go to bed, that come 10 o'clock, you start working again, or you get up early and you start reading and preparing for your day because there's a lot of reading. And I really like to be sure that I am very prepared and I've read files and I've read documents that have been submitted because lawyers have taken the time to prepare those. People have made sure that their story is before you so that you can consider that. And I think that it's very important that when you're making decisions about people's lives that you have read that. And sometimes, you know what? Sometimes there may be a sick child up at the middle of the night. And for me, what I'll say is, I'll say that I haven't had an opportunity to read everything fully. So I'm going to take a little bit of extra time. And that may mean that they don't get a decision right away because I have to take that time. And that's what people want to see. People want to see that you're human and people want to see that you understand and that you are going to take the time to consider what it is that they're asking you to make a decision about and that you're not just going to brush them off or you're not just going to try and rush through things just so that you can appear as though you've considered everything. So I really think that you've got to figure out which balance works for you, and that's what's worked for my family. And I think that we have to keep in mind that what our children also see is also important and makes an impression on them in terms about their skill set that they're going to develop and how they're going to grow up into young adults and teenagers and the career choices they make. So for me, it's important that they also see me work and that they see that learning is a lifelong process, that it doesn't just stop after you finish your education. You're always learning and you're always continuing to do the homework that you have to do to be prepared in your job. So keep up with those skills.
I love that you're, again, that you've said that you're a lifelong learner, and it sounds like you're a great role model to your boys. Our next question is, what would you say is the most important advice you would give students today with regards to career goals?
So I would say, don't be afraid to take the road less traveled. Mm-hmm. Sometimes people think that it's an easy line from high school to university to post-grad to your job. It's okay to take stops along the way. It's okay to take different choices, make different choices. For me, that choice was to leave Toronto and move north of the city. And that led me on this career path into a different area in law that I didn't think I'd be practicing in. So be brave to take those choices and make those choices and have faith in the choices that you are going to make. It's okay to make mistakes as well. We all make mistakes in life. So if you go down a path and you find that, you know what, this isn't quite right for me, use that experience, learn from that experience, and then make a different choice.
I love that. That's a great answer to a great question. I really love the fact that you said be brave, take the road less traveled. It's okay. I really want to take a minute and thank all of our Pathways teachers for facilitating this interview of our career series to the respective classes, and as well as Mr. Kinone, who organized and basically produced this segment. We also want to thank all of the students who joined us today, and in particular, those of you who provided such great and insightful questions to our distinguished guest. A special thank you to you, Justice Mendes. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day and really discussing your pathway to your current success. We wish you all the best, and York Catholic really wants to thank you. I think this was a fantastic interview series.
Thank you for inviting me. I think this is great for students to really learn about the different opportunities that they have before them. So thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much. You've been great. All the best.
Thank you.
Goodbye, everyone.